influential singer, songwriter, and civil rights activist called Nina Simone was of the opinion that it is an artist's duty to reflect the times in which we live. This is to mean that every artist has the responsibility to create art for the sake of the people, as opposed to art for the sake of just art. What do you think of this argument? Welcome to Dada Next Door, the podcast where we showcase amazing raw talent. We display the efforts made in artivism, and we go a step further to highlight the phenomenal women who have taken a step forward, challenged the status quo, and actually work every day to create social change. With us today, we have a fabulous guest. She is a singer, songwriter, communication specialist, a storyteller. She's so much more than just 4 things. So we're going to give her the opportunity to introduce herself. And we're going to have her do it in an interesting way.
You're scaring me. Please.
Don't be too scared. This one is easy, I promise. I believe in you. Okay. You ready?
Ready.
It's really simple because you're my favorite. Okay.
I feel like you tell them.
Don't tell them I said that.
For the sake of today, I'll accept I'm the only one.
Don't tell them I said that.
I agree.
Okay. So, introduce yourself by telling us 2 unique things that almost no one else would know about you. To make them interesting, please.
Okay, let me assume that people who are in my life are not going to watch this so that they won't say in the comment section that they already know.
Okay.
Fun fact about me, one of the artists I absolutely loved who really influenced me turning the trajectory of my music life into activism was the artist you've just mentioned, Nina Simone. And I studied her in a hip hop and New Testament class when I was in university. And the thing about her is she was singing jazz music in a classical way that fed the masses of the white people in the 50s, 40s.
Yeah.
And had a brilliant career. And the minute she started singing for the civil rights movement, she lost all the money. Her record label dropped her everything, but she gave that up in order to say that statement that you just said. So I pay homage to Nina Simone and a proliferary of other artists, but particularly her. And I remember even writing a whole paper for my studies.
An entire paper.
For her.
Okay.
So that's one fun fact.
It's looking promising.
It's looking promising. The other fun fact about me is I enjoy cooking for people. So I tend to host a lot of people in my home and with my family and just cook for them. And I'm Costarian, so yeah. So I love cooking for people. And then I love that moment that gives me pleasure is the moment they taste the food and then someone just does, or like that expression of, oh, this is so good. Yeah. I love it. So those are the 2 things.
They were fabulous. You may now tell us your name. You have earned your stripes.
Right. So my name, the one people generally know me as, is Libindambo. The other ones are many. I'll just leave them for my ID and certificates. And yeah.
Okay. And my name is Annie Agesa. Thank you for joining us today. And we are just going to get right into it.
Twende tena sana.
Kainde. Okay. So I want you to tell us about your first love art-wise.
I think it's my mom. My mom grew up as a singer. She was raised by her grandfather who was a pastor. So she would sing. But then life happened. She didn't pursue music. So my first memories in music were in the kitchen when she was teaching me how to cook, and she would teach me how to harmonize. So she would sing hymns, Gaither vocal band in church.
Wow.
So I started singing from like way back. My mom says she used to sing a lot when she was pregnant. I believe her because I did the same when I was pregnant. But yeah, so I remember singing a lot in the house, and even up till today, that's a funny thing. When my mom comes over and we're cooking with my brothers and we'll just start singing and start harmonizing And so it was a very musical home. And because my mom was anchored in faith and in Jesus, you'd have her watching TV, watching family, and then putting Gaither Vocal Band. We'd have CDs of different musicians, Michael W. Smith, Natalie Grant. So I grew up just listening to all of them. And then she knew the backstories of all these artists. So she'd tell me about them. So she'd tell me Natalie Grant grew up here, and this is what they did. And Michael W. Smith was singing rock and roll. And then so I knew more than just their music. Yeah, so that's the simplified way.
Wow, it was a family affair through and through.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that singing and storytelling are in your core.
Yeah. The other interesting thing that happened last year, I started working on a book project. I was asked to be a co-author for a children's book. It's yet to be released, but I kept asking my mom, like, I didn't ever envision myself as an author or a co-author for anything. And she told me a funny story that apparently when I was young, when you know how to color and all those things, I would take papers, put them together, write stories, and then color. And then when my mom gets home, the first thing that she has to do is read through whatever I've done for her. So I'd do that every day. So she'd read stories about an octopus or a cucumber that has a whole life, and so I'd always storytell, I'd always be singing, I'd always be doing something. When she was pregnant with my younger brother, I would sing to him in the belly and he would kick. So that it was just a whole thing.
Nice, so wholesome.
Yeah.
So what did you envision yourself being? You said you didn't envision yourself being a co-writer for anything.
Yeah. I wanted to be many things. So I wanted to be a gynecologist. And then I got my first period and I was like, no.
That's enough.
That's enough blood for me. I'll handle once a month. That's fine.
Right.
And then so when I was younger, I always wanted to do these mainstream careers. My mom kept pushing me to go to stage, pushing me to do music projects, and I'd do them on the side, but I never actually thought, like, I'll do this music thing, like, seriously.
Yes.
So when I got into high school, I got into a very good school. And at that time, the Christian Union was really strong. So I was in State House Girls High School. And I remember one of the people who came to speak was Sami Kaihuri. At the time, he was a presenter in Hope FM. And he came and he was so eloquent. And oh my God, I loved it. And I remember God just pressing in my heart that you're going to be in communications. So I knew I'm going to do communications and I'm going to storytell. But I didn't know how all of this is going to make sense. So I love singing and then I love communications and storytelling. But I don't know how it's going to
where it's going to meet.
And then I go to Daystar University and I'm pursuing communications electronic media degree. And then the life of music there was just, I'm telling you, like, a lot of the underground musicians right now who are coming up, a lot of the background vocalists who are amazing in live events, all of them have a connection to Daystar. And we just have such a musical environment. So then I started seeing how it's all coming together. But I never imagined that I would co-author and do music and still do activism. Like, you understand? Because you grow up thinking, I'll grow up to be one thing.
Yes.
And something a conversation we had earlier, Michelle Obama in one of her talks with Oprah Winfrey said that you cannot grow into being one thing. That's a falsehood, or that's an imagination. You evolve to become different things. So she was talking about how I wanted to be a lawyer and then I became a governor's wife. I think she was a governor's wife or something. And then I became president's wife, and then I became ex-president's wife, and then I became a book author, and then I became, you evolve into becoming very many things. So you see, my child mentality was I'm being one thing. Whereas the way God was just putting the pieces of my life is you're going to evolve into being different things in different seasons of your life, and that's very okay.
Yes, in different seasons of your life. I love that. And it's funny because her book is called Becoming, isn't it? Okay.
And if you read the second one, the second one is about this COVID season and how it changed her mentality, and just reflecting on her father and how he had a form of illness for his legs to the extent that he couldn't walk, and how she saw him still live life to the fullest, even with a crutch in his life. And she's just talking about how COVID brought that. COVID brought a weight mentally, but living your life fully. I think that was incredible. But yeah.
Wow. So it's equally incredible that you've found several ways to bring all these things you're so great at, either together or working concurrently towards a goal. And at this point in time, we're thinking that the goal is activism, using your art, right? So you've mentioned before that there's sort of some 4 guiding principles of sorts that are personal to you. Would you please share that with us?
So remember the hip hop class I told you about? So we had a wonderful lecturer. He was called Curtis Reed. I think he was just godsend because it was supposed to be a hip hop class. Me, I was expecting, man, we're gonna jam, we're gonna write music, it's gonna be the best time of my life. We ended up introspecting a lot. And I remember one of the things he challenged us is figure out your why. Figure out who you are, then that will influence the music.
Right.
So I remember asking myself, okay, these songs that I'm writing, because I was doing children's music at the time. I'm doing my own love songs. I'm doing church music. I'm doing so many things. I'm writing music for musicals. I'm performing in theater arts. What does all this mean? And I remember the core of who I am is to share, because I think one of the things I have is a lot of love. Like that's the one thing I know I have. That one, no amount of heartbreak can take that. No. I have so much love. And I remember figuring out that the core of who I am is like the chambers of our heart. We have 4 chambers. My love for God, because I'm anchored in that. My love for people, which can encompass love songs and children's music. My love for my country, because I don't exist in a silo. There's things that are happening that I don't agree with, that I think I have a duty to speak about. And my love for my purpose, like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so everything around my life revolves around those 4 chambers. So every season in my life, if you look at the projects I'm doing, you can place them somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. So discovering that this was your why, was it triggered by that one class, or was it always a build-up? Were you always going to end up at that specific moment, at that point with that information, if you just trusted the journey? Or was it this hip-hop class that snapped into your head and changed your mind?
So think about life like a stream moving around the plain land or highlands or wherever. Assume this stream is coming from Mount Kenya to come and water in Nairobi. There's going to be particular other streams that will feed into it.
Right.
Okay. So those are the people that come into your life in different seasons, and their work is just to pour into you. And they're going to be like some rocks that change, or a bend that will change the trajectory, but not necessarily cut off the supply. So I think of my life the same way. There's also places you'll reach, there's a waterfall.
Right.
You understand? So those are the rigorous experiences. So the hip hop class for me feels like a waterfall that happened.
Right.
Like, no, you're not going on this level. We're going deeper. Okay? And then there's different people. There's a guy called Israel who I met when I was in class 8. He gave me my first formal music classes. But then fast forward, when I was in Form 3, there's a guy called Keith who was teaching me how to play piano. But then he would force me to read a book before our piano classes. And these books were about internal work. So these were pivotal people who just fed into me in different stages of my life. There's a guy called Michael who we did children's music with. I would write songs and then he'd tell me, that's trash, go back. You can't write for children like that. And then he really just, so if you listen to also my music, it's very simple. Like I really don't have too many metaphors. It's a child can listen to my songs and get what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I think maybe one of my songs is like the heavier ones, but like most of them are just very simple. So these different people are those streams that feed in, the rocks that maybe elevate the river or the waterfalls that cause that. So it was just a build up, and I think even this conversation could be one of those. And maybe 10 years from now, I'll be like, there's a conversation I had with someone.
Love to hear it. I would love to.
Yes.
And I'll tell you when I fast forward to 10 years, and then I'll come back and tell you what we said. Okay. Yes. Okay. And one of your most well-known campaigns that really cemented you in the activism space,
Yes.
activism space, yes. But since you were actually putting your art out there to be the vessel for this message that you're pushing, is the Rise Against campaign.
Yeah.
So, at what triggered it?
Rise Again is a song. Let's just start there.
Yes.
It's an anti-rape campaign song that I wrote with my then boyfriend and a poet called Shingai. They helped me in the putting the words together. But the campaign was an online campaign that was just shedding light on rape and how we were perpetuating it. And that particular year, funny enough, had so many rape cases happening on TV, even in the music industry. In events, a lot of ladies were saying that they were raped. So how I perceived the project, this is like maybe 2 years before I did it, was you don't have to experience something firsthand for you to have empathy and do something about it. That's like the number one rule. And in activism, you look at, there are 4 different people who would be in activism. There's the change makers. These are the people who will call others, let's do something about it, rally people. There's the people who will change from the inside. Now, these are the people who change the system. So if I was like a governor, I would change policies, okay? There's the people who rebel. Like now, we're going to the streets. We're going to shout,
Yeah.
And then there's the people who have gone through it and speak about it. So there's many angles to target that. But for me, a lot of my friends were being raped. And as a Christian and in church, a lot of them were being raped by pastors. And I remember there was even, there's a priest who was defiling young boys. In my particular church at the time, there was a particular pastor who, man, alikuwa anapita na mademu wote.
Allah.
And these are girls who are under 18. So it is rape because he would manipulate them. And then, the way in the African community, we view pastors as this glorified people who are not wrong. We forget that they are human and they can do things that cross the line. I don't want to call them mistakes because there's a series of choices they made.
Right.
And so I was seeing that. And then my best friend at the time also was raped by a pastor. And I remember being so angry and trying to do something about it. I went to the elders and I went to the people in leadership and they kept asking what was she wearing. And I'm like, we were at a Kesha where she was raped.
No.
So it was just frustrating. And I kept asking myself, what tools do I have? What can I do about this? Again, this is happening. So I finished uni 2016, graduate 2017.
Right.
This is 2018 when all these things are coming to light. She was raped 2015. So remember, I'm having the hip hop class. I'm having this musical environment in Desa. So all of these things are just coming together.
Yes.
And I was like, what tool do I have? And I remember telling my boyfriend, I was like, I say, babe, I'm going to get into this activism thing. And if I'm going to remove a first song that will cement the beginning of where I am, let me speak about something that matters.
You're right.
Love is important, but if love cannot be present and sit in the mud in pain with you, then what is the use of that love?
Right.
So I wanted to express my love and sit in the mud in this painful ordeal and be able to speak about it. And also in a way, show the people who had experienced it around me, man, I care. Like I see you, and this is what I'm doing. I'm not sitting silent.
Si kusema tu.
Exactly.
It's not just talk.
Again, remember what I told you about, like so many things happening. I remember doing one of my hip hop papers about the slavery period, the 400 years. Was it 400 years of slavery in the US?
Right.
And I remember one of the things that I picked out, I was not mad at the white people who did all the wrong things. I was not mad about the black people. I was mad about, when you read the newspapers, there are people who would stand there in silence while a black person is being lynched during the lynching era. I was mad at those people. This is a human being hung there, and you're standing
aside to let it happen.
And it's what I was doing my whole life. I was just a bystander, just watching what's happening to people and not speaking. So that was me trying to hold myself accountable because God has allowed me to see what is happening for a reason.
Right.
So if I stand there, I'm no different to the person who's putting the dagger. I'm not different with the person who rapes, because I am just propagating the same agenda if I sit in silence.
Yeah.
So that's how it all began. So I started writing the song, and then I'd go to, because it has poetry inside. I was never a poet.
Ooh.
So I was just like, I don't know how to do this. I call Shingai.
Evolution and growth.
I call Shingai. I'm like, Shingai, baby, you're a poet. Come. So we sit in a restaurant in town, and I've scribbled things, and she's like, no, this doesn't make sense. And then we switch it. And my boyfriend is there. We're just switching up things. And then now it came together.
Right.
Yeah.
How did it feel to have this profound nature? You know, it's such a direct piece. The way you said you actually write as if, you know, a child will understand exactly what you're writing. It's not cryptic. It's not hidden. It's not shrouded. It's exactly the way it is.
Yeah.
How was performing that for you? Because I know you actually had to perform it a couple of times in a couple of
Actually
spaces.
had a release party for it.
Ooh,
So we were at a restaurant, 50 people came, and we tailor-made. So because I also am passionate about mental health. So we tailor-made the set list to have survivors speaking, survivors of rape speaking. We had a counselor who came and spoke, and then there was music just meshed in.
Wow.
Let me tell you, it was the waterworks from the beginning.
I can
to the
imagine.
End. We were crying. I'm on stage crying. My BGV, she's called Grace. She had to sing some parts for me because I'm just there. It was so heavy. It was so heavy. It was, I've not done a solo concert after that. And this is 2019. I think it was 31st May.
It was a lot.
Yeah, I've not had the courage to do it. But it was also very fulfilling that guys listened to it and resonated or understood or felt stirred up. But my highlight was, so Wangu Kanja was launching a rape app with the government of Kenya, and I was asked to be the music for that nini, and we sang the song. And a survivor from somewhere in Ushago, walikuwa wameletwa wengi, and a survivor came and said, Libby, thank you for saying my story.
And add on to the waterworks.
Yo, me, I was at a government event crying. Because so in the song there's 3 stories I tell, and those 3 stories that I'm telling, they're actual stories. So the married woman who's raped was actually someone I knew. You know, the first story about the young boy was a newspaper article I had read. The story about the lady being raped kwa barabara, these were real life stories. All I just did was just put myself in their shoes. So to hear another survivor saying that you've told my story was just like, people, let me tell you, the ultimate form of fulfillment is that I was over the moon, but I was also so broken.
Yeah.
I was so broken. I did counseling months after that. I did so much counseling because it was too much. Yeah.
Wow. I'm feeling like, what is it called? The impact after the impact.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. And this is not the only avenue through which you've shown your activism, or that you've put your art to, or, you know, your energy to.
Yeah.
So tell us about the work that you're currently doing.
Yeah, so in this season of my life.
In this season of your life.
I work in, let me just say, I story tell for people who are living with HIV and AIDS with an NGO. So that's like a communications work.
Right.
I do videos, photography, and write stories. So I meet people in East Africa, and I listen to them and figure out what is the best way to honor their story and make them the hero of their story. So that's what I do for the NGO. That's like my now full-time job. I am also still doing music. So I released an EP which are love letters from a mother to a son. Because again, in this season of my life, God honored me to be a mother to an incredible young boy whom I absolutely love. And I just wanted to write love songs for him, that if I was never to be there when he's 30 years old and going through depression, he'll remember Mama wrote me a song for that.
That is lovely.
Or when he is going through a season in his life, he'll remember, oh, Mama wrote me a song and it talked about seasons of life, Right now I sing him lullabies, so in the EP there's lullabies. So that's currently, those are the main things I'm doing. And then there's the book I told you about. We're currently in the final stages of the book. It's fictional storybook. And that's all I can talk about
For now.
for now.
Okay. Cue that conversation we'll have in 10
You'll
years.
call me back.
Okay. So something else I'd like to know is all this work that you're doing, especially the work that you do with the community, the storytelling, and Rise Against as well, because it was I think it was a really significant project. How were they received by the community for which you were creating it?
Yeah, so Rise Again had both positive and negative. Negative in the sense, when you call people out, you don't expect them to be like, oh, girl, thank you for calling me out. You're the best. Umenianika na pia mimi nakupenda zaidi.
Na nafurahia.
Nafurahia sana. No. So I had a group of people who were just angry and mad, even in the DMs and all those things.
Really?
But mostly the people who because in the project I also call out the church.
Yes.
So that also got me in a bit of trouble. And I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, on one end it was received horribly by some people, which I expected. On the other end, it was also received really well. Again, it was not a song that I was doing for the numbers, that I wanted to hit and it trends. No, it was, I'm going to speak my truth. Whoever wants to listen will listen. I met incredible human beings. I went on an incredible press tour and I networked with so many people and I got to learn. And out of that Rise Again project, I realized I want to do more than just speak. Remember what I told you about? There's people who do activism and just speak and call people, let's do this one thing.
Yes.
And let's go this direction. And then there's people who get into the system and change things up. So one of the things that I knew that stemmed out of Rise Again is I want to be in the NGO space making a difference. Hence now I joined the organization that I'm in.
Right.
So that's how it changed my trajectory in life. I was never doing full-time communications. And I was like, no. I want to be inside. I want to see what people are doing on the ground. And this incredible organization called Untold, been there for 15 years, has given me that opportunity. So now I get to go to Kilifi communities and communities in Mombasa and meet people who have so much joy and hope in life. And when you're looking at the situation, but seeing an organization doing something about it. Remember, I also wanted Rise Again to be like an NGO at one point, 20 years from now. Let's have this convo. But so I needed to know, how does this thing work? How do you impact the community from the ground up instead of just speaking in media and speaking online? Been there, done that.
Right.
So how can I get to the ground? Yeah, so that's now what I'm seeing happening.
Social media has definitely been a very important tool in propagating the message that you were trying to share and everything. And there's a lot of critics out there who would argue that people who activists or artivists who use social media as their largest tool are just being lazy millennials. I've read a lot about that. They think that we don't want to go outside to the streets and actually protest and actually do what needs to be done. I want to know your opinion on this.
So everyone is entitled to their opinion?
Yes.
But I just want to look at the camera and just say, Kitu, by the way, see, there's no blueprint in this life on how you're going to make a change. So if you want me to go in one direction, I apologize. I will not. Think about it like this. When I go to my phone, I've been actively working to reduce my hours that I spend on my phone.
Screen time.
My screen time. I just so happen to spend 6 hours a week on my phone. My screen time leveled at 6 hours right now.
That's low.
That's low because I've worked. Remember, I've told you I've worked hard. I've learned in parenting that you have to be off your phone. But so I have 6 hours. 6 hours, 10,000 individuals are influencing me and changing my thought process. And to have in activism, it's not about the psych. Yeah, we're in the barabara, we are making noise, we are lying on the ground, and that's all fun. But it is, how can you change my mind? And when you look at a cultural onion, in order to change someone's behaviors, which is the top layer of the onion, you have to change the core of who they are, the inside of the onion, because that's where the growth is.
That's right.
Okay? To change someone's mind and belief system is changing, like for me, changing almost 30 years of what I have learned. Come on.
Right.
That's very difficult. But what are we doing right now on TikTok and Instagram? We are learning things. And this individual in 15 seconds can change my perception of relationships. What more, this individual who comes and tells me, Libby, everyone is doing this wrong. You know, let's talk about rape. Let's talk about rape in the church. 15 seconds I have to change someone's mind and conscious mind. And then that's 15 seconds. What if they subscribe to my channel and out of the 6 hours, 30 minutes a week, I get to speak to them directly. I get to speak to 1,000 people directly at the comfort of their homes where they don't have to pretend. That's more influent than going to the town right now. It's raining. No one is standing there to listen to you. I will not lie on the ground.
Shikilia mabana,
You know, and there's a place for it. Look at Boniface Mwangi with the M-Pigs. There was a place for it. But he also does social media, and there's a place for it. So I don't see why we shouldn't use every tool. Assume a person who's walking into this room wants to come and rape me. He will use whatever tools are within his reach in order to rape me and get whatever he wants done. So why would I call him accountable with just one tool and be all soft about it? Hell no. He attacks me and I will throw the table. I will use everything around here to put him in his place.
Right.
So that's exactly what we need to do with activism in whatever form. You use social media, and if that, at the comfort of your home, if that's fine, great. Use media interviews, great. Go to the streets, great. Strip naked like Wangare Maathai, great. And people 30 years from now will remember that there's a girl who was crazy enough to speak up. You know, when in the lynching era or black liberation or the social justice movement in the US, those guys used different means. Martin Luther King was more dramatic was more pastoral-like than this Malcolm X. You know, there were people who were on the streets protesting, and there were people who were coming out with guns protecting. Whatever tools are within your reach, you need to use them. We can't go all softy here, being soft girl. I'm being a soft girl activist.
No, it's no such thing.
I can literally use makeup for activism. We have seen people using that. But I can still be the same individual in the parliament rooms speaking up and coming up or lobbying for bills to be tabled or change makers. You know, I can be the president and literally enforce some of these things, but I can be the president's advisor, social media advisor. And in the comfort of his office, tell him in social media they're saying this. Don't you think we need to speak about that?
Right.
Why are we limiting people? Number two, we're in an evolving world. 10 years from now, who knows, flying cars will be here and we'll use them for activism. Iyo moshi inatoka kwa hiyo ndege tutakuwa tunaandika for activism.
Right.
I don't know. Like, let's grow up and evolve.
So what you're saying is that the most important thing is to awaken that public consciousness.
Yes, we need to speak. But not just the public consciousness. Awaken the public consciousness. Hold the people accountable who are supposed to be accountable. And if you're in those spheres of influence, cause influence. Like I said, I can speak to you and cause you to think differently, and you're the one who's making the policy change.
Right.
But I can also be daring enough to also be the policy maker. All of us are important.
We're all part of this circle?
It's a puzzle. You fit into your place. It allows us to figure out what is the next puzzle piece that goes, but if you don't go to your place and go to someone else's place,
We'll
then
never move forward.
we'll never figure this thing out.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned that you networked a lot during that time, and you managed to work with a lot of people. So what are some really interesting collaborations that you did, or work you did with other people?
Yeah.
So for example, the visuals for your video it had a lot of familiar faces in Kenyan media, I guess.
Yes.
I guess we could say that.
Say that.
And those look like really interesting collaborations. So what collaborations were most interesting to you? And is there a way that they influenced the way you shape your art, that shaped the way you do activism, how you are an activist or an artivist?
So everyone in that music video, I met them in a different phase of my life. So what I did is, because again, I think I'm very intentional with making every friendship meaningful. So these were conversations I was having with them even before I started working on the project. Every individual there. You have someone like Mugo. I was so in love with his acting. But I went to school with him at a different time. So I didn't know him personally. But I knew someone who knew him. So somewhere in a conversation, I think we did a project with him. And then I was like, would you like to be? And they volunteered to be in the project. Like, I couldn't pay them. Like, have you seen those actors? I can't afford them.
I was
So
wondering, what connections in your cafe?
Where am I getting the money, to afford them? But these are individuals who, I met Odiroa in theater spaces. So we did theater musicals with her. And then we just formed this bond and she came through. Nyokafi, I met her on our first week of university, and we were both late for an activity, and we were very happy we were late, and we walked, and
you were late together.
We were late together, and we've become very good friends until today. Ken Visuals is the one who directed and edited, and at the time he was just starting out and all that. But because I knew him also, we were having this conversation, and they bought into the vision. That's the thing about, if you have vision, all these people who need to make the vision come to reality will come. So I think for me, the whole experience, the people who did the event for me are called Code Inc. Those guys, I met them through my boyfriend. Then, as in, like, every single person was meaningful. I can't pick on one particular individual who didn't pour into my cup and it overflowed, But I think it was very vital that I, for once, dare to speak out. And just having the right individuals who are okay speaking with you. For Nyokafi Masharia, there's a scene with Morris, the actor, where she's raped on the streets. Her nose ring actually popped out and she was bleeding because they had to get into character.
Yeah, I saw it.
Nyokafi actually broke down on set, and I was with my family, my parents, my boyfriend, and we were all like crying with her. You understand what I mean? That was meaningful in such a profound way that she stepped into the shoes of someone who had experienced it. The young boy in the video is actually my baby cousin, and he did a brilliant job. So all these experiences were meaningful to me because they also showed me that there's someone who believes in what I'm doing, that I'm not crazy, that I'm singing about rape when no one is singing about it. I'm not crazy to sing about, like, I want to be the musician who has 15,000 people singing my songs.
Yes.
A rape song won't get me that. But to have individuals who believe in that, to even have Wangu Kanja come and say, hey, I believe in what you're doing, come, let's collaborate.
Yes.
To go on to interviews with someone like Janet Bugwa, who called me again for 16 days of activism the next year to work alongside her. That was great. Wow. I wouldn't have met all those individuals or experienced their concern and love for what I'm doing if I didn't do the project. I think I've answered the question.
You answered it way too well.
Thanks.
So for for me, what I've heard is that sometimes you just need those people to believe in what you believe in, or at least believe in you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, if you believe in something so much, people will believe in it.
Yes,
I think you have to start there.
it has to start with you.
Man, me, I was ranting about this thing a year before the actual launch of the song. So in that year, people believed in it, you know.
Right.
But also surround yourself with people who believe in you, you know. The EP I just released, Dear Chunky, I hadn't sung in a long time, and I just went to Modest, a producer, and I just told him, yo, I want to do children's music in this season of my life. And he was like, come to studio now. You understand? That's someone but he's believed in me for 15 years. You get what I mean?
I get it.
When I'm going to my parents and I'm like, guys, I want to do this thing, or I'm going to my spouse, like everyone around me are people who will listen to the crazy ideas and say, not tell me this won't work, but say, how can I help you make this work? I think that's a gift to have, but you have to be intentional to put those people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So your circle, your support system, right? You had it here first. Okay, you didn't. This wasn't the first place, but
First place in a long time.
Yes, first place in a long time. Libby says, make sure you're intentional about your social circle, your support system. Yeah. So as we wind up and get ready for some vocal action, some music sing-songy sounds, I want you to tell us what's next. What should we expect you to... What fuel should we expect coming from you in the next couple of years that we might talk about in those 10 years? Yes. What do you have your sights set on for the next couple of years?
Oh, so because I'm very present with the season I'm in, and I think motherhood has been a very, very big change in my life. They say when a child is born, the mother is born afresh. The Libby in 2019, 2020, 2021 is very different with the Libby now. You know, I have this incredible young boy, and I think it has changed my perception of life, you know. So I think what you can expect is a lot more, I want to say children's content, but really it's just a mother's love letters to her son. So I did that with the EP Dear Chunky, which is available, but also I have very many other songs that I'm writing, and I'm realizing all the songs I'm writing, I'm really writing for him, that he can understand the perspective of where I'm at right now. You understand? So you have songs like Sunshine. Yeah. Sunshine, I was just talking to him about seasons in life and how this too shall pass. And not thinking that, hey, the world is crashing all around me, it will stay forever. No, the sun will always rise. The other day I was writing him a song about falling in love and how it's such a beautiful experience and that you have so much love to give, you know. So I'm writing this love song to my human, but then it's still anchored on I want my son to know love is beautiful. I'm writing heartbreak songs because heartbreak is a reality, but I'm also writing for him that when you go through a heartbreak, imagine sitting in the mud and cry. It's painful, it's the ghetto, but it's also very beautiful because something will come out of it, you know. So that's what you should expect. A lot of love letters to my son, but also love letters to every one of you. Someone told me something profound about, they listened to the EP. He's an adult, grown man with a wife, and he told me one of the things that inspired him about the music is the people who haven't experienced a mother's love can experience that through my songs. I did not. I kid you not. I did not envision that my music would do that for someone. But now that has given me more fuel. But maybe you've never had someone who's giving you genuine advice on life. When you listen to my music, I hope you do, you know. But also, you're probably not gonna hear a hit song in the sense, you know what I mean by a hit song, like the cliche. You'll hear a lot of heavy music, a lot of mental health music, which stems from my struggles with mental health, but also everyone struggles. We're all on a spectrum of mental health problems, you know. So you'll hear a lot of that. But all of it is coming from the chambers of my heart. It's coming from love, because I genuinely love you guys. I genuinely love my fans, and I genuinely love the people who support my music. I do. And I want to be with them in every season of their life. Yeah.
That was a glorious way to finish.
Glorious. Wow.
Glorious. Thank you so much for everything you've shared with us.
Anytime. Thank you for having me.
I enjoyed it. Thank you. It's my pleasure. So the other thing that is also my pleasure is to listen to you sing.
Right.
Please go for it. What do you want to do for us today?
I'll actually, because we're having the conversation on activism, I'll sing this song for the first time in like a year or two. And I'll sing the verse and the spoken word. Then you can listen to the rest.
Okay.
Yeah. I wanted a lollipop, but you wanted more. Soon as I walked in the room, you pulled me on the floor. Please stop. Let me go. I'm begging you, stop. Let me go. Just let me go. You see, this space can hear me say no. But do you even understand what that means anymore? You crippled me with silent whispers. To you, it was just a few seconds. But for me, in those few seconds, you auctioned me to a broken system. A system that finds it easier to crucify me than hold you accountable. Blaming my short skirts or my late nights. What they didn't know is misplacing the blame only empowers you. You auction me to a system that hides behind religion. Blaming, covering your shame and honor. But they forget that the holy book is grounded and centered on justice for the oppressed. But regardless of all those things, I know that I will rise again. Yeah.
For everyone who wants to listen to some more, and I know that's everyone, we're going to put links to Libby's EP and her work with Rise Again in the description below.
Yep.
Thank you very much for joining us. I've been Annie.
And I am Libby.
Say bye.
See ya, guys.